Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Happy Hanukkah! Festive Kwanzaa! Wonderful winter solstice! Ramadan? Let's have some fun!
Ooh. Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba. All right. Promoter 101. 12 Nights of Christmas. Promoter 101. Promoter 101.
Hey there, Doug Edley from UTA, hanging with Dan Steinberg. Love listening to Promoter 101 every week. Keep it up.
Just 2 days left to the end of the year. Promoter 101. It's the 12 Days of Christmas. Super spectacular. I'm Dan Steinberg. We want to give a tip of a hat to our editor and engineer, Connor, for just kicking ass over the holidays and making this all happen. And introduce you to my partner in crime, introducing our guest for today, Mr. Luke Pierce.
Thank you, Dan. And of course, a big thanks to Connor putting some serious overtime in during this holiday season to bring you the 11th day of 12 Days of Christmas on Promoter 101. Each day during the 12 Days of Christmas from December 20th all the way up through today, that's the 11th day, we've been bringing you a single featured interview that has never been heard before on Promoter 101, our way of giving back during the holidays so you get your Promoter 101 fix in. And today is no different. We've got a special guest with a very interesting perspective on the business. Entertainment Travel's Nick Gold is going to give us a glimpse into the travel needs and logistics of some of the biggest acts on the planet.
Hey everyone, this is Cindy Leinott,
Kira Finkenberg,
Patty Ann Tarleton,
Whitney Bond,
Amy Miller,
John Holiday,
Marcy Allen,
Paula Palazzo,
Becca Leifer,
and you're listening to Promoter 101.
Promoter 101.
Promoter 101.
And I'm on Promoter 101.
We continue our world tour. Catch us when we come to a town near you.
Next on deck for Promoter 101 will be live at the FlyCon conference in the Big Easy, New Orleans, January 16th at 2 p.m. We'll be recording Promoter 101 live with a special guest from Locken and the Brooklyn Bowl, Mr. Peter Shapiro. Looking forward to it, Dan.
Yeah, and you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at The Jew. The show's at Promoters 101, and it's plural, Promoters with an S, 101. And you can always catch Luke at Luke Pierce.
Of course, it's Dan and I talking every week. You hear enough of us, but it doesn't have to be that way. We're ready to listen. Send us an email with your ideas to steiny@promoter101.net. We can't wait to hear what's on your mind, and we give you our sworn promise to respond to every inquiry in a timely manner because you matter to us.
Hi, it's Ed Mike Cohn. I'm on Promoter 101.
When I walk past any travel agent office, I'm always like, that's really still a thing? But when you get into it from our side of the business and you see the logistics that are involved with some of these 6 to 8 to 20 bus, 15 semi tours carrying hundreds of crew each day, you realize the incredible need for some sort of intermediary party to take over some of the burden of logistics. And that's where guys like our featured guest today comes in. Entertainment Travel's Nick Gold works with some of the biggest stars on the planet, getting them from point A to point B and so much more. We're going to welcome him now to the podcast.
Promoter 101, we're in Nashville at the AIBA conference, and I'm hanging out with Nick Gold, travel agent to the stars. You've specialized in entertainment for decades.
Yeah, my company is 32 years old, coming up on 33, and it's been an exciting ride. I started in corporate, and then with that agency, which is my family agency, we started to do entertainment, and somehow when I left there, I ended up doing all of this. It's just been great.
You can find hotel rooms anywhere in the world. Anything anyone can think of, you can get them there, and you play with their budget. If they want to go first class, you can make that work. If they got to work on a budget, you can make that happen. How do you get into a band's life, and how does that happen? I mean, people can just go on Orbitz now and book a hotel room. Clearly, it's a different level of service.
It is completely different. And yes, I'd like to think that, if we can't find a room for somebody, nobody can. But there are times where a city is completely full, whatever reason, but somehow we find a way. I had a meeting just last week, actually, about the internet and what it does for the travel industry.
Because clearly that had to close a lot of mom and pop shops down that do similar things.
Well, the airlines cutting commissions 12 years ago shut down most of the smaller agencies, whether they did entertainment or whether they did just general travel, because the markup on what we earn is so small that when you have your 10% commission removed, you literally have nothing left when there is nothing. You can't survive on the fee if you don't have other forms of income. As far as the band and entertainment side, I feel that the internet doesn't serve it well because it's too volatile. There's too many changes. There's too many wants and needs and desires. And when you book it online, the reason it's online is because it's cheap. It doesn't involve a person. Therefore, they can afford to put X number of rooms on a website and you book it, you pay for it, you turn up, you stay, you leave, you pay, you're done. It doesn't involve employees that they're paying a salary for. When we do it, we're going through sales, we're going through accounting, we're going through front desk, we're going through various levels of people to make sure that when that band walks in the door, everything is done to make their lives easy. I mean, I was a tour manager, so I get what it's like to be on the road. And so we try and simplify the arrival, the departure. And believe me, we have hotels at every level who can't read a rider. Apparently, do not disturb means let's knock on the door. You have to stay on it 24/7 because as good as the hotel may be, whether it be Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, or a Holiday Inn, they still make mistakes. And so we have to make sure that what we do is keeping the band happy on the road. And it's not just as simple as coming to us and us calling a hotel. We have to make sure that hotel gets it every single time. And there are a large number of hotels that are what I call entertainment savvy. And we go to those as our go-to hotels all the time, as other agents do, because we know that they know what they're doing. But then, of course, you do other towns, other cities where it's not so popular. And you also almost have to educate the hotel as to what to do, how to do it, and what not to do for the most part.
When I'm in certain cities, I can tell that there's 7 or 8 tours that happen to be at the same hotel at the same time. Is it because those hotels are so accommodating to the acts that they have built that reputation that that's why you see all the different tours staying at the same hotels?
Predominantly. I mean, it could have been a festival tour, but predominantly, I mean, in certain towns, there are the go-to hotels. I mean, there's no question. Obviously, small towns, it's whatever the number one best hotel there. It could be a Holiday Inn or a Hampton Inn, for all we know. For example, in Jacksonville, if you're not at the Omni and the Hyatt, you're not staying because those are the best two hotels. So you'll always see all the buses and all the bands staying in those two hotels.
Ritz-Carlton in Denver.
Exactly. I mean, Denver has a lot more options. Jacksonville does not. But yes, you're right. There are a list of hotels that we use in A, B, C, and D markets. And we go back to them every single time. Because if it ain't broke, I am certainly not going to fix it. If they know how to do it, I'm happy they can keep doing it. And I don't have to re-educate them about whether the parking lot should be the back driveway, which is on a 1 in 5 slant, and the bus can't sit there. It's got to be flat.
Bus-friendly hotels have got to be where you start, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have some unfriendly cities. There are 2 or 3 that have ordinance that you can't park a bus. I mean, and so there is a designated area, and that's where all buses go. Or you stay further outside and then just drive in, do your show, and then you leave.
You'd think that they'd be more welcoming to the buses because that brings revenue into the market.
It does. Many cities have permits done by the city. City makes money. But you take Philly, take Toronto, take Washington primarily because of security, but also by the fact that there's obviously the streets aren't really big enough. And so when you stick a bus there, you are challenged to how you can get through it because they allow both sides of the street parking. And so when you stick a bus on there as well, now there's no space. So Washington has a massive parking by Union Station, and Philly, you go outside across the bridge into Cherry Hill, and Toronto, 2 hotels you can stay. They have parking, assuming they're not doing anything else. And otherwise, you're going to, again, stay outside the city. And it's ordinance by the city. You don't have a choice. We've tried to work with many a city and say, you should go to the CVB. You should say, we have buses. This is revenue. Charge $150 a bus. It's not a problem. I'd rather do that than stick them 14 miles out the other end of town and then have people have to keep driving backwards and forwards and making it inconvenient. But bus parking is and has always been a challenge. I have one tour. The bus parking is the number one thing on their list. If I don't have bus parking as I book it, they leave, they don't pay. Pretty simple. Every day. And it has happened. They lie about their parking. Yeah, we got parking. And when you get there, it's like, the bus doesn't, how big do you think this bus was? It's like, it doesn't fit in that space. And so normally one of the buses will leave and go somewhere different, and we don't pay the room. If they all decide to get upset about it, then they both leave. Then I have to find another hotel, which is then another challenge. So we try and make sure, we go on Google Earth, we go on maps, we go on whatever, to make sure we see the area that would technically be where they can park. And, 1 in 75 maybe goes wrong. I'll take those odds.
In that moment when you've got rock stars wanting to go to bed, you got to bring your A game at that moment.
You've got some people who don't have a lot of money and they live on their bus. So that bus parks in the parking lot with the generator running. Driver goes to bed, bus gets locked, everyone's sleeping on the bus. Can't do that in the middle of a street. So every tour we do, is customized. Doesn't matter whether it's a baby band or an A-listed band. And so we ask, loads of questions, try and get as much as we can up front. So when we go to work, we've got everything we need to know exactly what they want. And sometimes I'll even add stuff to it just because I believe what we do, more is better. I try to leave nothing to gray, nothing to be thought, because you do that, the hotel or any other vendor will assume. And we all know what that does. And then, of course, I've got to deal with that at the end of the day when I said, well, guys, why didn't you ask me? We thought. I was like, nobody asked you to think. It's okay, but let's just fix this.
I want to ask you about when you get the call that a hotel room got destroyed. I don't want to ask who did it or what, but over the years of being on the road, doing what you do, you've got to have those relationships where that stuff happens, right?
It does. Whether it be, somebody got angry and a lamp fell on the floor because they were messing around or they went nuts. I have a very simple process. I ask the hotel to take pictures, send me the pictures. I tell them, charge the credit card. I'd send the pictures to the tour manager. I go, by the way, here's the room for this guy. Here's a copy of the bill. Have fun. Take care of it internally. I take care of my hotels because if you don't, it affects the industry. It affects other bands. If it's something that's a gray area, after I've seen the picture before I tell them to charge it, I go, hold on a second. Let me find out about this first. I did find out that a hole was in a wall. Engineering had patched it up incorrectly, and the hole had broken open, and they thought somebody had kicked it. And in fact, it was the original hole they'd patched that had patched it. They didn't patch very well. So when I questioned the band, they go, I have no idea. It was like not even, it was a girl's room. I said, didn't happen. So I called the hotel. I said, no, I think you've double checked. That's a repair that apparently did not get repaired correctly. I said, I think you need to go double check how that is. And I think you're fine. You just need to re-repair the hole. So I don't automatically say, yes, we're wrong and they're wrong and pay for it. I do double check, but the credit card that's on file pays the bill. No different if you smoke in a room. I have a bunch of smokers. It's like, guys, smoke, you pay. Very simple. I don't mind. It's your choice. I said, but you will pay the $250 cleaning fee if you smoke. And it's not a question because this is a choice that you want to make. I have some clients who smoke and we pick hotels that have windows that open or balconies. And they can go outside and they can do that. It doesn't affect the room.
Do bands ever get blacklisted from hotels for doing stuff like that? Does word get out?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, sure.
If a band damages a room, does that affect a different tour next time through the hotel?
The way I handle it, and I'm sure colleagues in my industry handle it the same way. If we do it that way, I think that it handles the situation right there and then. And I believe the hotel gets to acknowledge that, okay, it happened. It got fixed.
Are hotels good sports about that stuff?
I think it depends on how it's destroyed. I had a guy one day took his BB gun out and decided to shoot the armoire. I mean, okay, they replaced it. They got the new armoire. I mean, I just took one out, put one in. I'm sure they had it in the hotel. He paid $400 for it. Do I care? No. You don't take your BB gun out in the middle of the room and shoot your armoire because you're bored. I mean, your boredom cost you the money. I think there is an understanding that they have, but any hotel can at any time say, you know what, we don't want that here. And so your band isn't welcome back here. I had a band that was removed from the Soho Grand, Trump Soho in New York many years ago because they refused to keep the noise down. It annoyed all the neighbors on the floor. They all smoked. And so, of course, everybody could smell it. And they didn't care. And they weren't prepared to change it. So they said, well, this is your last day. It happens. There are other hotels you can go to. I mean, is that hotel going to send out a blog to everybody? No. It was in their hotel. It was what it is. In the chain, maybe. But other hotels, it's unlikely because one person's problem isn't another person's problem. And they may say, we have no problem with that. We're used to that. Or no different to limos I have where people smoke. I have to get drivers who are able to drive while someone's smoking. And there's a $300 cleaning fee for the car. You want to do on a 6-hour ride, you want to smoke? Not a problem. You just can't close the windows. Windows have to be cracked. You can't make it a hot box. Otherwise, it's too difficult for everybody, to be in a vehicle, especially the driver who has to stay alert. Things like damage and stuff like that, whilst it does happen, sometimes accidentally, sometimes not. We believe that we ask for pictures immediately, identify how it was done, get the bill paid, get the room fixed. Everyone's a happy camper.
It's become business practice. Rock bands destroy hotel rooms.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the days of the 70s and 80s are not today's days. You have bands now who want a gym. They want health food. They want peace and quiet. They want to not necessarily be in the hot, busy hotel because, they want to have their privacy.
Some of the bigger acts fly in, fly out. They do the privates. And that's part of your world too, right?
Yeah, we do private air, commercial air, hotels, ground as in self-driven, ground as in bee-driven. We have vehicles that are bulletproof. I got security. Having done this for 33 years and over 3,000 acts, you tend to find a few vendors every now and again. And we just keep a database of it all. And that and various conventions I go to, you bump into so many people and just keep the card.
How much time in advance do you need to book a private plane when you're doing that?
The shortest amount of time you can have is 2 hours.
So if I want to go to New York tonight privately, you could book it at 8 o'clock. It wouldn't be a problem if we started now?
Could do it right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, probably 20 different jet companies I can call.
And that stuff's not cheap, right? That's real money.
You know, if you only insist on flying on a G5, it's going to cost you money. Smaller plane, Phenons, some of the Beechcrafts that are out there, some of the newer, older Lears, then you're going to save money. It's all done by the hour. But the bigger the plane, the bigger the ego, the bigger the bill.
Is there a security thing with some artists that are just so big that really would be a mob scene if they were...
Correct. It would be the security nightmare to move some of the A-listed artists we have today, assuming somebody knows they're traveling. And of course, you know, keeping that secret is what we do, but I mean, who knows what they're doing. So yeah, I mean, you get people like Taylor, she owns her own plane. She doesn't fly through commercial airports anymore. Jay-Z and Beyonce have their plane. I mean, so there's a number out there. And sometimes it's cheaper just to charter as you need it than it is to own it. Because if you were getting like a G5, you'd be paying $100,000 a month just for the note, plus maintenance, plus hangar, plus crew, plus. If you don't spend $100,000 a month, well, then it's cheaper just to charter when you need, rather than just to have a plane at your disposal, because you're getting a plane at your disposal regardless, because you're asking for it when you want it. So it's the same difference.
Has Uber changed the ground transportation game as far as some of the bigger celebrities just Uber when they get somewhere opposed to having the car waiting for them?
Completely. Certainly, I mean, when I arrive, I have a car service pick me up at the airport because it's easier to find them. When I leave a city to go back to the airport, I take Uber. I mean, it's the simplest no-brainer. I got artists who get off planes, and they call Uber. I have artists at hotels, they go to rehearsals, they get an Uber. I mean, so yes, you'll find the major ground companies are suffering tremendously. Again, at a meeting last week in New York, we were talking about this. Again, internet and what it's done to the travel industry, whether it be vacation, corporate, leisure, entertainment, film, TV, music. You know, unless you're the A-listed actor, sure, they'll jump in Uber. I mean, I got artists that fly Southwest. They put a baseball cap on, and if you don't pay attention, you can walk right past them, not even know they're sitting in the first row of the Southwest plane. It's an easy way to get around because it's a nonstop, and they don't want to start changing planes through an airport, dealing with people. They get on, they sit, they mind their own business, they get off. No one cares.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I love walking through airports and seeing who you get to see. You get used to walking through an airport. You know what you're doing. So you can do that and you can people watch at the same time. And it's like, oh, look at that.
I tend to people watch just because it's fun, but I also tend to people watch because I have a security mind. I'm curious as to the stupidity that I still see at airports today for people who go to the bathroom and leave their bag in the middle of the hallway, or you know, they leave their bags at a gate because they went to go buy a sandwich unattended. It's mind-blowing. Even in today's world, with everything that goes on, it still amazes me how either stupid or naive some people can really be at an airport. I mean, here in Nashville, they still pick up scissors and knives and guns. And I mean, it's a check like with the hand-carry luggage. I had to get up in the morning and forget you had a loaded weapon inside your bag before we went to the airport. I mean, but it's at every airport. It's not just here.
What are the travel tips from the pro that you would suggest people do to make their lives easier?
Find a carrier you like, fly on them a lot, get status. Even if you get the most basic status, which in most airlines is gold, it will give you access to check a free bag, check in at first class, get your TSA. It's worth going to the meeting and going it online or your global entry. It is worth it. Yes, it's a pain. I get it, but go do it because then you'll get to breeze through the TSA check-in lines.
Yeah, matched with the Clear now too, which is awesome. You get it both.
Clear's coming back. They're trying to get me. They're trying to get me to come back as well. So I'm thinking I may re-up my Clear. I had Clear originally when it first came out. They were the first people ever to do it, and then of course it failed miserably. But at LaGuardia last week, I saw the Clear line move a little faster than the TSA line. I'm thinking,
the places that have the TSA and the Clear together,
right?
We can skip to the front of the TSA line,
right?
Which is amazing because everybody's got the TSA pre now, but the Clear,
right?
That's you got to have them both.
Well, there's a lot of airports. I mean, even here in Nashville, we have 11 security lines. So on any given busy day, whether we have Bonnaroo and the CMA Fest or any major conventions, I mean, that's a lot of people moving through our airport. And in May 4, we have our second international flight. Our first one stopped in 98, but British Airways is going to fly out of Nashville to London. They'll fly 5 days a week. And actually, I'm on the plane. I've actually booked myself on the inaugural flight to go to London and see my family.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's pretty cool. So when that starts, that's going to bring another 200 plus people on a brand new Dreamliner through security. So, it changes. So anyway, so finding an airline you like, and then you'll have a priority boarding. So you'll be in the first 2 or 3. This way you have eliminated most of the grief of arriving, checking in, doing TSA, getting to your gate, and then hoping your bag's going to fit. Because now on most airlines, if you're in the last two groups, trust me, gate check your bag. It ain't getting on the plane because there's too many people with carry-ons because they don't want to pay the $25 fee to check a bag. So now they've moved from checking a bag to carrying on a bag. So now you've got all those people and the plane just isn't big enough for everybody to bring a rollerboard in every single bin. Even though each bin takes 3 boards on both sides, it's just not enough. And so that's why the airlines will say, we'll gate check your bag or we'll check your bag, no fee, because they know it isn't going to fit. There are different days of the week to travel. Obviously, early morning is always a good time to travel. I know it's not everyone's dream to get up early, but normally that plane's already here because it already came in from the night before. So a chance of having a delay on that plane, unless something happens to it overnight, pretty slim. So I like to take the early morning flight. So this way, I know my aircraft is already here. And I try never to take the last flight of the day because should something happen, you're sleeping where you are because if they don't have a plane to get you out, well, then you've got to wait. Sunday's a very busy day to travel. Unless you have to, pick a different day to go, or at least pick a different time to go. Earlier in the morning is better because people want to hang out Sunday and then they'll come home towards the end of the day. So towards the end of the day, now you're dealing with en masse traffic, en masse people. Tuesday, Wednesdays, sometimes a cheaper day to fly to buy tickets if you're going to do the online thing. Other than that, it's an easier way to stay away from the crowds because all the business people are flying in Monday, out Thursday or Friday. You go in the middle of the week, they're already there working, they're doing their thing. So, but every city, every route, every day changes. Any given convention, any given rock concert, any given anything will change how your day will be when you go to that airport and the number of people you're going to bump into.
When you're staying at a hotel somewhere, what's your go-to that you personally put yourself in?
I predominantly stay in the Marriott chain, which is now Marriott, Starwood, Ritz-Carlton, now 17 lines I think they have in their repertoire. I mean, they're now the largest group of hotels globally. They're massive. But sometimes if I'm doing a meeting or some event that I'm going to, if it's in a hotel, I'll stay in that hotel because I don't have to schlep around the city and dealing with traffic. I can go into my room, go downstairs, do the meeting, go back upstairs and leave. Or I'll try and stay as close as I can to it so I could just walk there and not have to worry.
Right, but if you don't have an event at the hotel, you'll...
If I don't have that, then predominantly I'll stay in the Marriott Starwood line. I find their service to be great. And again, I've stayed with them enough. You get status when you walk in. If there's an upgrade, they'll give it to you. You get a bigger room. You get a little amenity. So, it's all the little frills that, that are out there that just make traveling, which can be traumatic, just a little easier, a little bit more relaxing at the end of the day.
From your service side of the business now to your time on the road as a road manager, which is harder?
Different. I was a tour manager in the 80s with the first ever rap festival that went out. We had 8 buses, 8 acts. It was called the New York City Fresh Fest. And this is way before LL Cool J Run DMC world. This is prior to that. This is in the Melly Mel and Curtis Blow world. I don't know that I knew enough of what I do today by comparison, but now seeing tour managers that are friends of mine and what they do and how they have to go do what they do, we alleviate a lot of their day. We take away the stress of having to deal with hotels and or air and or cars and just hand it back to them based on what they want because they have a fair amount to do already.
Yeah, they're playing mom and dad on the road and they're building those shows and they're making sure everything gets there.
Yeah, if it's a smaller tour, they're the tour manager and they could be the LD. They could be the tour manager and the monitor guy. I don't know. I mean, it's so they've got enough to do without having to worry about whether the hotel keys are ready. But it was still work. I mean, I jumped the crew bus every day and I got up at 7 a.m. when I got in and went to the hotel and made sure that, all 85 rooms were ready and all the keys were lined up. And I went to bed, took a nap, took a sandwich, came down, checked everybody in. And I went to the venue and did security, did it all over again, So it's not easy. But I think in that day, we didn't have the technology we have today. I mean, I look at touring today from my perspective, and the technology that we have in the travel world makes our lives a lot easier. And I think that the technology that the tour it has itself also becomes easier. The actual nuts and bolts of how a tour works hasn't changed in 40 years. I mean, you still get up, get on the bus, go to a venue, load it in, do a show, load it out, and go to the next city. Just how you put it together, I think, has become technically advanced. No different to us. We used to have to handwrite airline tickets and get a messenger and deliver them to you and hope that you didn't lose them, because if you did, then, it'd be a nightmare to replace it. Now it's all electronic. You push a button, everything's electronic. Can't find it? Oh, it's in the system. It's easy. And the airlines can help. I mean, it's all there. So the sophistication of technology, which is going to get better as we move forward. I'm not quite sure how, but I'm sure that somebody out there is creating something to try and make what we do more efficient. And somebody else will make money.
The Nick Gold app.
Yes, maybe. You know, if somebody else if I'd write a book and I go, I don't know what on. I said, because I don't know who would read it. Bearing in mind that half the stories I have, most of my artists are still alive. So unfortunately, I don't know if I can tell half the stories that I really know. So, you know, we like to think that we look after our clients, their safety, their security, their personal lives are ours too to look after, just like an attorney.
Travel agent to the stars, Nick Gold. Thank you so much for being on Promoter 101.
Thrilled.
Nick deals with the biggest of the big in the industry, and it's easy to see why he is so trusted.
Hey, what's going on? This is Bubbles.
This is Julian.
And this is Ricky.
You're listening to Promoter 101.
Hey, if you want to reach out to us, it's not like it's hard. You send us an email, steiny@promoter101.net. You tweet at us. I'm the Jew, Luke's W. Luke Pierce. You get them both at Promoters101 at Twitter. You can hit us on our Facebook page. We're easy to find. Just saying.
Not fake, Dan, not fake. We are easy to reach. And we know that you need your fix in, and we hope that the last 11 interviews during the Promoter 101 12 Days of Christmas have given you just that. And tomorrow is the 12th day on the 12 Days of Christmas. This is also New Year's Eve, Dan, where everyone's going to be out celebrating. So we're going to get this podcast up nice and early for you so that you can be out and about your day and hopefully having a cocktail or two by mid-afternoon. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, December 31st, for the final day of 12 Days of Christmas on Promoter 101.
Hey, and until then, wishing you a great and happy New Year's. Cheers.
I'm Gary Smith from Polestar, and you're listening to Promoter 101.
Let's have some fun!
Ba-da-ba-ba.